See, Hear, Love intro for Full Circle reunion. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to a very special edition of See, Hear, Love. It was some 16 years ago when I was executive producer at Crossroads that Ann Mainse came into my office and said she had an idea for a new program, a woman's talk show with some very talented women. Well, that talk show became Full Circle. Today, the Full Circle Sofa Sisters are reunited on See, Hear, Love. You don't want to miss it.
Well, thank you, George McEachran, our first executive producer of Full Circle. And yes, this is a very special edition of See, Hear, Love because I have brought the Sofa Sisters here to See, Hear, Love. Now, for some of you, you may not know, but See, Hear, Love is here because of Full Circle, the first women's talk show in Canada. And I am thrilled that most of the Sofa Sisters are here with me today. Cheryl Weber, we're one of the producers of Full Circle. Why don't you introduce everybody and we can welcome everybody, clap, and do our thing.
Yes, it's so exciting. Well, let me start. Ann Mainse, of course, it was her idea. The founder and host of Full Circle is with us today. Welcome, Ann.
Yay!
Yay! Moira Brown, also a panelist on Full Circle. She was the host of 100 Huntley Street. And as you said to us, Moira, you represented the seniors, although you were hardly one.
I'd actually recommended other women, and then Ann called. I got to be the senior.
Yay!
And then Denise Roberts, who was Denise Lottie at the time, was a reporter for 100 Huntley Street and one of the panelists on the show. Welcome, Denise.
Yay, Denise!
Hi, guys. It's so good to see you again.
And of course, everyone knows Melinda Estabrook. She's the host of See, Hear, Love, and she was also a panelist with us for how many years was it now? 7 years. 7 years on Full Circle. Yay!
Yay! Thank you, Cheryl. You do such a great job at that. Well, I want to start just quickly with Ann, because you were the founder and creator, and like what George had mentioned, you came in 16 years ago to George's office and said, I have an idea for a women's show. And the vision, how many years, how many interviews? Tell us, please tell us.
Oh my goodness. You know, to think back on that day when I went into George's office, I had been sensing for a while just a void in television, in what I was seeing. You know, The View, of course, had been on for a number of years in the States, and they had a very broad view of things, a very loud voice. And honestly, I didn't feel like they were speaking my voice. I didn't feel my voice was represented. And so when I went into George's office that day, I said, George, I just sense a void in Canada. I sense that we need to be a voice for women, with women, to women. And, you know, honestly, George, I don't know if you remember that day, but I was met with a little bit of pushback because you raised some very interesting questions. Like, Huntley Street was an hour long. Could you fill an hour? What would you say? And how would our viewers respond to it? And so we really had to work through some of those things. But in the end, it was just a wonderful experience. And we went live on the air January of 2006.
Wow.
And I saw this coming. Can you remember a baby shower at Elaine Stacy's? And I pulled in actually some millennials. I don't know what I wanted their perspective on. I just wanted to understand where they were coming from. And you walked in, you listened for a minute, and you said, this would make a great TV show. And I think that, do you remember that?
I don't remember that exactly, but it's probably already percolating in my mind.
It was already coming. And just the whole idea of it being multi-generational, because I think we all sat in a different decade on that.
We did.
That was
different ages.
Women
that was one of the beautiful things, is that it was multi-generational.
Speak into the lives of women at different ages. Yeah.
Yeah. Cheryl, you became full-time as a producer. And we were always questioning why, for you to corral all of us women, diverse women all across the generations. And that became your job. Why did you do that?
Now, are we supposed to be transparent on Full Circle? No.
Absolutely.
I was working as a reporter at the time for 100 Huntley Street, loved my job. But I don't know, there's just something really special about Full Circle. There's something about the connection between all of us women, the conversations that we had. I thought it was really an important conversation on in Canada, and it needed to happen. So you're right. It was a little crazy, especially on mornings before the show, trying to corral all of you women, and you're all different personalities and strong, which is really what made the show work, I think. Like, just so many different divergent, as Moira pointed out, age groups and personalities that everybody could like or not like someone, right? And so then there's a reason you watch the show. I just really loved Full Circle.
And Melinda, if we could give a shout out to our very first producer. Well, first we had Jen Taylor, but then Bill Bray was our producer for a number of years. So I just want to give a shout out to Bill as well.
Yes, definitely. Yay, Bill.
Yes.
Denise, for you as a reporter, what did you love about bringing the stories to the couch when you were kind of like a monthly and sometimes even weekly contributor?
Well, okay. Yes, women like to talk. Yes, you're right, George. But we're deep. We run deep. And so for me, we have a lot of things to say, intelligent things to say, things that we can help bring awareness about, things that need our unique perspectives. And so for me, it was a privilege to bring that, to not just be, we could joke about the lighter things, but we really touched on some really important, deep things. And seeing women talk about that, I thought it made a statement too, that we had things to say and we have our own life experiences.
I think that's the key there. Wow.
And Denise, my biggest challenge, of course, I knew you girls were great communicators. My challenge was, how do I get them to stop talking? So I had my cue card. Now, before I go, Melinda, I want to let you know the most important cue card that I think I like holding up during the telecast. Let me find it for you.
Oh no, so I'd be scared. Oh, the prayer lines. Yes. That's perfect.
That's what set this women's talk show aside and apart from others, that it centered itself on God and was out there to help other women and anyone, men, guys, whoever was watching. And we had the prayer lines and the infrastructure to be able to lead them to Jesus.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, George. And now I want to show you some clips and memories of Full Circle. So let's take a look at this sizzle reel and we'll come back with some of your thoughts from that. Let's take a look.
You know, one of the things we really try to do here on Full Circle is share authentically, share from our hearts.
And that's what it is. It's like we don't understand what God has, but when you give God your life, He can do something amazing.
I love your mother because I was
Me
reading.
too.
Yeah.
I love her. Hi, Mom.
I was reading.
Hi, Mom. I love you.
Hollywood has a lot to say about what you girls are talking about. In fact, there was a movie made, 27 Dresses or something,
yes.
all the different bridesmaids' dresses. And I happen to know that one of our single ladies on the couch brought a collection of pictures of her bridesmaids' dresses.
I have 27 dresses. I would say I have 4. So in 4 years, I was a part of 4 weddings. So this is the first wedding I was a part of. My girlfriend Gloria.
Pretty dresses.
Yeah.
Okay, but
and I have to say, you know, as far as singleness is concerned, I think singleness is great. I don't want to give the perception that, you know, I'm this lonely, you know, sad person. I'm not. My life is amazing.
That's a real challenge, and I think that's what singleness teaches you, because you don't have that person to spend every moment with and do all of those things with and feel that oxytocin, as Moira would say.
Get ready for this funny clip.
One of our favorite moments on Full Circle is coming up. You're going to enjoy this.
Right.
Yeah, sure they will. It's an egg-laying.
An egg-laying chicken. Here goes Justin. No.
You're stuck in traffic. Okay, you're stuck in traffic. You just slip it on. No reaction. You're just sitting there like this. Okay, you just go like this.
So we just signed with the music label and we're moving in about a week to the US. So it's a big step, and he's got a long journey and great plans.
Congratulations, Justin and Patty.
Wow, so many great memories. Sofa Sisters. I know, Justin Bieber. We had to put that one
reunion.
in. Oh, we should have brought Justin Bieber on for the reunion.
I'm sure that's one of his career highlights. Yeah. Full circle, obviously.
Absolutely. I mean, did you get like just the feeling of there was like, you know, the depth, and then there was fun, and we had some great funny people and just deep people. It was so good to see, you know, 500 plus interviews, 7 years. What a time together. And I want to go straight into these questions because some of these are really good questions for us to kind of think through. And I know our viewers and listeners are really going to be encouraged. But your favorite moment or highlight in the 7 years on Full Circle? Who should I start with? Should I start with Denise? Denise, your highlight or moment or something that stands out to you from your time on Full Circle?
You know, I was thinking back to, I mean, I wasn't on every Full Circle show. So some guests, I was just a viewer watching, but we certainly had a really great variety of guests. But to be honest with you, I think it was just spending that time together with you girls, and through the guests, we would talk about different issues in our life. And so for me, really, it was the experience of the show, the journey of the show, as we sat and talked and shared, and we saw like all, you know, being authentic. That was so important to what we were doing. So for me, that is the highlight, is just those moments of tears, those moments of revelations that we would have, like about our own lives, about sharing something that might help others. So for me, that's it.
Amazing. Thanks, Denise. Moira, what about you?
I just have to say, it was lovely to see the reporters, the journalists, sharing their lives. You could step out of that mold and just open up. I thought that was really formative for you women. Certainly Ann's call out of the blue 3 days after I had pleaded with the Lord for handfuls of purpose after 12 years at home, away from TV, away from ministry in that form. And what a surprise. 3 days after praying specifically. But my guest memory, maybe the most profound, was Dr. Gary Smalley. 40 years in ministry. You know, he was the marriage guru in many ways, best-selling books, speaker. And for him to be almost bouncing on our Full Circle couch with excitement because the Lord had revealed to him this meant a mentor in my life, certainly, and millions of people, a besetting sin that had affected his own marriage. And he called it, I had to write this down, he's called it the most exciting story of my life at 68. Wow. What does that say? That we need to continually be seeking God for personal growth and learning and becoming all he wants us to be. He was open and vulnerable and absolutely excited. I called it the Tom Cruise on our couch, you know, at what God had done in his life.
That's amazing. I remember that. I remember that moment, Moira. I was there, and I remember really clearly that moment. That was exceptional and memorable. It was a good one. Cheryl, what about you? Highlight or memory in the 7 years?
Well, I totally agree with Denise. For me, what was special about Full Circle was that the friendships on air were in real life. Like, we actually really loved each other. And, you know, those conversations were so amazing. A lot of my best memories are things we did outside. So, I mean, I brought some swag. I don't know, Girls in Crisis, Full Circle. We did a bike ride to raise money for trafficked women, which was amazing. Oh, and I found a sweatshirt with Full Circle. Oh, and a mug. Who has their Full Circle mug? Come on, let's see it.
Oh, yeah, right here.
All right. Oh, sorry, Denise.
Denise.
Get all the comments. But, you know, honestly, it was this one Christmas that we went to cook a Christmas meal for a group of refugees in Toronto who had just arrived. And we wanted to show them our Christmas traditions and bless them and, you know, do what we could to reach out at Christmas. But honestly, that time when we sat around the table with them and they told us about their traditions and a little bit about what they were fleeing from and their hopes and their fears, for me, was one of the best Christmases of my life. It felt like this is Christmas. This is what Christmas means. And so, yeah, that's probably my favorite memory, although it was really hard to pick.
I know. That was a great one. I loved that one too. Thanks, Cheryl. Ann, what about you?
Well, you know, I was thinking, because like you said, we did so many shows, but I think one of the ones that stands out the most to me was the day, remember, we were live across the country for an hour We were live every Friday for years on 100 Huntley Street. The day our guest did not show up. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. She was
snowed in somewhere and she just couldn't make her flight. And we found out 15 minutes before we went to air that actually she was trying, she couldn't make it. And we had a no-show guest and we were gonna go live on the air. And so what did we do? In the green room, all of us girls got together and we said, okay, we're gonna make this work. We are gonna be the guests. We are gonna share from our hearts, Cheryl, authenticity, that's it. We are going to share from our hearts a time in our lives, one of the darkest, hardest times in our lives when God was there. Mm-hmm. And we're going to share with viewers how we walked through that with God's help. Mm-hmm. And that, to this day, is one of my favorite shows.
I love that show. That was sort of a breaking, powerful. That was a breaking kind of point for us, even I think full circle, to move to that vulnerability and authenticity.
And the viewers responded to that.
Oh, incredibly. Yeah. How could I just pick? And then after that, we started sharing honestly from our own lives after that. That was like a really amazing time. How do I pick one? Man, I was like, well, building a home for Habitat for Humanity, our full circle conferences, going to Israel for our full circle trip. I mean, okay, so I didn't pick one, but here's the one that really stuck out for me. And it's kind of odd because it was the show that I had to announce that I was going through a divorce. And you would think that would be the worst moment. But I think why that was one of the best moments was that it not only, it was difficult, but to know that I had the love and support of my Sofa sisters, my friends, Crossroads, who supported me in this, the outpouring on love and support from the crew and from the team and from staff, and then the impact it had when I shared that many people came and said, thank you for being honest about that because we're going through the same thing. And it's that crazy thing about hard things, doing hard things, but watching God use it for something good and healing for others. And I think that for me was a really pivotal time in my life and moment that I speak about and look back to say, at that time in full circle, I saw how God redeems lives in the midst of extreme brokenness and pain. So I would say that would definitely be my highlight. All right, next up, what did you learn about yourself at the time? Now that's 7 years of growth in different stages and ages. But Moira, what would you say that you learned about yourself in that time being a part of sort of the sisterhood of Full Circle?
Probably work-life balance continues to be a challenge because I did have to make the choice. Full Circle led me back to 100 Huntley Street, which really was my sweet spot. And I just came to a place, unfortunately, where I couldn't do both. A lot of preparation, people may not realize, for daily live TV. And so that was tough. That was a tough one to have to make that decision. And I think we were all a little teary, but thankful for the time that I had.
Yeah. And we love the time that you were with us, Moira, too.
And
Denise, what about you?
Moira taught us that it's all about connecting.
Connecting. Oh, yes. I remember that. The connecting.
Yeah, but my family was, my son would say, Mom, is there going to be dinner tonight? It's really bad.
Now, my memory of Moira is there was always a prop behind a pillow. So the pillows that we sat on the couch, you never knew what was coming out.
Do you remember that one day, Denise, you brought a drill and you hid behind the pillow and you pulled it out from Moira?
I had some influence with her, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Denise, what about you? What did you learn about yourself in the time?
Looking back, I didn't ever think I would be on a show like Full Circle. Just because I just thought like what Moira was talking about, being a journalist and just kind of not being in the story per se, but it freed me up in such a way, and it helped me accept myself. And my voice was that it mattered, and that other women across Canada may be experiencing what I was. And at that time I was single and really working my way through that journey of like how you be single and be content and all of these things. And I know from doing the conferences that we did, so many women would come up and say, like it encouraged them. And that really encouraged me to say, okay, God has me here for a reason, and to share my story, however it may be. And that is going to impact somebody else. So for me, it was just an acceptance, it was a really cool experience to be part of the couch.
Amazing. Thanks, Denise. Ann, what about for you? I mean, you're the creator and founder, but I know that you must have learned something in all of that time hosting.
Well, it really does challenge you, pushes you out of your comfort zone to be the one in the host chair, as you know, Melinda, trying to keep control of all the women talking and the time cues and live television, and you just have hard stops and just a lot of things, especially coming from, I was a stay-at-home mom for many years before I stepped into the studio at 100 Huntley Street. And so the couch with the Full Circle girls was actually a very wonderful, easy easing into hosting daily 100 Huntley Street, because I was just talking with my girlfriends, and the viewers at home became our close friends, because we heard from them so much. So many people wrote into us and traveled with us and participated with us in conferences over the years. And so it really was just a real sweet learning curve of getting into daily television, to be able to spend that time with my friends.
It's good. Oh, we're your friends, Ann. And we really did build a great friendship and sisterhood together. So Cheryl, for you? What did you learn?
You know what? In that season of Christian television, it felt like there was a lot of pressure on on-air people to be perfect. And if you were going to talk about something that was wrong, it was a long time ago. And one of the things that we pushed ourselves to do was talk about things we were going through right now that maybe we didn't have all the answers tied up neatly for. And I think for me, one of the things I learned, well, two things, is one, how hard it is to be transparent and authentic. You can talk about it all day long, but to actually just put yourself out there and say like, I'm wrestling with this with God right now, and I don't have the answer necessarily, but I'm on a path. That was so hard. But the second thing I learned is how much that helps people. A lot of people disqualify themselves from leadership because they look at leaders and they think, oh, well, I'm not like them. They have it all together. And I think the more we can take down our guards and say, yeah, we're just human. We're on a journey with God, and we're going to be on it for the rest of our lives. That opens the door for everyone else to say, wow, God can use her and she doesn't have it all figured out, then he can use me. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, amazing. And I would say, I would sum it up. I mean, I feel the same way in all of your thoughts of what I learned. But I think what I learned about myself, yes, to be authentic and vulnerable and how God can use that. But also I realized how much women need sisterhood and community and friendship. I really realized that you cannot do life without friends. Yes, and family. But girlfriends are just this unique God-given gift that I believe he gives us, so that we can share and cry and celebrate and party and dream together with. And I think that's what I learned. And we saw that when we go to conferences or our local coffee shop or everywhere we went, women would go, you're my girlfriend, you're my sofa sister. Thank you for inspiring us. And so I think that was really what I learned, and was really the stepping stone to the trajectory of what I do now and the work that I do now as host of See Hear Love. So thank you, all of you, and to you, our viewers and listeners, don't go away, because there's much more coming from the Sofa Sisters. But first, we would love for you to join our See Hear Love community and learn about sisterhood and belonging and community. And next up, we have a special guest who is a huge fan of Full Circle, Frances Kim, our monthly segment contributor, who shares the importance of sisterhood and friendship from a second-generation Korean-Canadian context. That's coming up.
From the host of See Hear Love, Melinda Estabrooks, and 50 of her guests and friends, comes the book Always Know. Full of stories of lives that are inspiring, wise, and life-changing.
God hears you. He hears your prayers. He hears the longing for connection. He hears the cries of pain that you're experiencing, and he loves you deeply.
This month, with your ministry gift of $25 or more, or when you become a new monthly donor, request your copy of Always Know.
It is a collection of stories to help you today in the things that you're struggling with, the things that you are confronted with. And I know that these stories will encourage you.
Call 1-800-265-3100 or visit seehearlove.com/alwaysknow and request your copy.
Thanks, Melinda. It's great to be here with you again and to speak to the theme of sisterhood and unity, which I love. My name is Frances Kim, and I have been absolutely blessed through sisterhood with my younger biological sister, but with many women, young and old, throughout my years. I recently celebrated a milestone 40th birthday at the end of last year, and a common thread throughout every season has been the gift of sisterhood. If there's ever been a year where we have seen the global impact of women rising to new heights, we understand that each woman is surrounded by a village of others who have given their voices, their raised arms of support, and at times even held up mirrors that gently reveal, correct, and shape who we become. So as a way to frame this theme, I imagined speaking to my 5-year-old daughter, Amelia, who will one day be in her 20s and 30s and grow to become a third-generation Korean-Canadian leader. There are 3 key values that I would teach her. The first is the value of presence. I want to teach her about the power of nunchi, which is basically the Korean essence of Dale Carnegie's classic, winning friends and influencing people. Nunchi is described as the art of intuitively knowing how others feel. And when you can intuitively know how others feel, you can respond in a way that honors that person through the value of your attentive presence. The second is the value of connection, or what Koreans would call jeong. It describes a healthy form of secure attachment with a person. And when you can nurture jeong in your relationships, you'll be able to uncover the true and deep heart of a matter, strengthening your relationship with every conversation. The third is the value of establishing intimacy through vulnerability. And a cultural reference that comes to mind that does just that is the public bathhouse. We call this the jjimjilbang experience. See, it was common for families growing up in Korea to frequent public bathhouses. Women and men had their separate quarters where they would strip down, soak in a hot tub, often women with their children or together with their friends, scrubbing the dirt off one another's bodies, and then emerging hours later, squeaky clean and refreshed. There's nothing comparable that amps up the level of intimacy quite in this way. So metaphorically, empowered sisterhood also grows through having the courage to bare our souls, to stand naked and unashamed with one another, learning and appreciating the power of intimacy that bonds through vulnerability. In fact, this last point actually reminds me of God's original design for all of our relationships to be safe, secure, and without shame. What are the ways uniquely that you express sisterhood in your community and culture? Because when I think about the power of sisterhood that promotes unity, I want to pass on to Amelia and to you the 3 values of presence, connection, and intimacy, all of which are possible through Jesus, who anchors us all in our relationship to him.
Well, welcome back as we continue our conversation with the Sofa Sisters as we celebrate this full circle reunion, a women's talk show that was on national TV for 7 years, and it's all about connecting. Now, Cheryl, Ann, Denise, and Moira, when we left Full Circle, we kind of left in a way where we were like, a lot of people thought we were going to come back and kind of finish some of our storytelling and what we were doing. And a lot of people have said to me over the years, what happened to Full Circle? But what happened to everybody? Where is everybody? What are they doing? Where are they now? So this is kind of the Where Are They Now segment of the show. And this is where you can kind of share, what are you doing? What has happened in the past 7 years and your hopes for the future? I know it's broad and a lot, but I know a lot of people want to know. So Moira, let's start with you.
Oh, boy.
A number of women say, Moira, where's Moira? So we'd love to hear an update from you.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, I'll just grab a few things. Of course, right away, both Ann and I went to Christian radio, and that was fun. Much more recently, Cheryl and I have been in an award-winning book, Faith, Life, and Leadership. 8 Canadian women tell their stories. But, you know, the best thing I had a dream of ministry with my husband. He was always going to Africa, and I was very busy with local production here and the kids and so on. Well, he began a sabbatical, and very soon after, we had a year-long cancer journey, which was quite an adventure. I think he had about 80 medical appointments. How do people keep a job and do a cancer journey? That I still am trying to figure out. But God has been so good to us. And really, we are enjoying an unending second honeymoon in our empty nest with some very interesting ministry opportunities. And one of the things we're doing is a daily missive to people in 10 countries, not out there on social media, they're emailed, and just to help people keep their head above water in this crazy, uncertain time that we're living in. And I don't know who put my shingle out, but I seem to be a book reviewer. And that's part of encouraging the next generation. I've lost count of the books I've read and pre-seed and corrected, and for people who want to get published. And you're doing some great stuff.
Wow. So,
and I Moira. Say, you know, just standing back, it's very precious that the Lord is allowing me to come alongside some of the people who encouraged me early in my Christian walk, who are now elderly. And that just is just special. Yeah.
Thank you, Moira. So wonderful to hear the work that you're doing now. And yeah, just so many years of incredible inspiration, service, and mentoring to young women across Canada. Thank you so much. Denise, what are you up to these days?
Well, I guess I left Full Circle 10 years ago, and I got married to a guy from Montreal. And so I'm picked up my life and moved it out here. And that was a huge transition for me. I'm still a journalist. I'm freelance. I've been working at CTV as a reporter, and that's been a huge help in getting to know this new place and the language and all of these things. And, you know, really getting to know this new place that I'm calling home. And then in the midst of all of that, I also, to be authentic, I really was afraid of this question because, you know, it's hard to answer it in the sense that, you know, I came out here expecting one picture and that picture didn't happen. I got the husband who was amazing, and he has been such an amazing partner to me, but we weren't able to have kids. And so I went through that journey of what do you do when your plan A didn't work out, and you have to come to grips with that. And so that's the journey that we were on for a while. And I feel like that's been another piece along the way. It's just like when we were doing Full Circle, that we would share about what we're going through now. That was one thing that I was struggling with, but I'm so happy to still to be working in media, and I'm learning new skills each day. I'm working on a documentary right now. So these are the things that excite me. And I really believe that God has a purpose when your plan A doesn't work out, that there's something else. And so I'm proof of that.
Thank you, Denise, so much for sharing that. And just in that authentic and vulnerable spirit, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Cheryl, for you, update on what you're doing.
Yeah, well, when Full Circle ended, I was about to try to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, tallest mountain in Africa, if you remember. And and Denise came with me as well. She shot the journey, 50 women from around the world on behalf of sexually trafficked kids. We did summit. I didn't die, just in case you were wondering. I was alive.
Come on, you came close, Cheryl.
There were some moments, honestly, where I wasn't sure I was going to make it. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but such an incredible honor to be able to do that. And then after that, I got to do one of my dreams, which was work full-time for Crossroads Relief and Development, travel the world, advocating for so many people that needed clean water and trafficked kids and food security and maternal mortality, and just so many amazing memories. Absolutely love that. I still do that, of course, grounded right now with the pandemic, but still part of what I get to do. And then I had the opportunity to host 100 Huntley Street, something I actually never saw myself doing, even though I was on air for years. It just wasn't, I just didn't think that I fit, you know, and again, God surprised me. And I think a lot of it is due to the wonderful mentorship of Moira Brown and Ann Mainse, two women who, you know, gave me opportunity and cheered me on and gave me some advice along the way. And, you know, to your credit, I just got to say this, you never acted like, you know, who do you think you are? You know, like a lot of women get competitive in this industry, and you guys were always just an open door and a welcome heart to me. And so I just give you guys all the honor, you know, of just mentoring me and now I have the chance to do what you did, probably not as well, but I'm honored to get to do it.
It's beautiful. Thanks, Cheryl. Ann.
Yes.
You've been on quite a journey, and some may know and some may not know since we finished Full Circle.
Well, about 5 years ago, my husband Ron and I stepped aside from Crossroads with the blessing of his father, David Mainse, and we are now leading a ministry to marriages called Heart to Heart, Marriage and Family Ministries. We produce a weekly television show on Yes TV called A Better Us. And pre-COVID, we were doing marriage seminars across the country. We were doing date nights involving comedy and fun marriage teachings. And then COVID hit and that all came to a screeching halt. But something else that made my life come to a screeching halt was just over a year ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so over the last probably 16 months or so, I've undergone 3 surgeries. I went through 8 rounds of chemotherapy. I lost all my hair, and I'm sporting a lovely wig right now. And I'm very thankful to the lady that gave up her hair, whoever she is, so that I can have hair right now. But you know what? God has been good through it all. There's so many changes in life. So much takes us by storm. So many people watching right now, you know, walking through 2020, which we've just come out of, and saying, how in the world are we going to get through the next few months? Like, it's been such a tough season. How are we going to get through it? And I've said those same things myself, but Melinda, you need to know that nothing takes God by surprise. And this healing journey, Moira, you called it a cancer journey that Richard walked through, and it is a journey through cancer, but Ron and I decided to dub it a healing journey, just because I felt so much better about that mantra going forward, that is my healing journey. But through it all, God was so faithful. And in the midst of everything, who knew, but God would have me actually write a book. Now, that wasn't something I saw coming, but in God and his faithfulness, had me write down my thoughts and my healing and share it with others, and others encouraged me to put it into a book. And so that's what I've done. Yep, Cheryl, there it is.
Yes.
I have it right here on my desk. Amazing.
I got a copy too. It's called Coffee with Him, Mornings with God on an Unexpected Journey. And it's a 31-day devotional. So it's for anybody. You don't have to be going through a health crisis. But anyway, so, you know, since Full Circle ended, our lives have gone into so many different directions, but what has remained faithful is God's presence and God's direction and God's leading and God's presence. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to share obviously my update, but I wanted to share some updates with some of our reporters that weren't able to be with us today, but many of you remember Maggie John, and she is now the host of Context Beyond the Headlines. So way to go, Maggie. It's great to see her in that role. Bridget Antwi is the owner of The Dating Doula. You must look it up. It's a fascinating organization. And Shireen Barsoom, one of our other reporters, is now a filmmaker and co-founder of Racial Equity Media Collective. So many of the women on Full Circle have gone on to, whether it's media or broadcast, but other really interesting and creative opportunities and jobs. As for me, obviously after Full Circle, I did promotions and I did leadership training, and God just kept whispering to me and speaking to me to say, you need to do a women's web show for the next generation, for the millennial generation. And it was a web show, and I resisted because I had no idea how to do that. And yet, step by step, God brought the right people, brought the right donors. And in 2017, I launched See Hear Love as a web show on International Women's Day. And we are now in our 6th season and 4.5 years later. And we are now on TV, radio, podcast, video on demand, online. And I'm humbled and grateful. And I do need to say, Ann, thanks to you and your vision, See Hear Love, and I say this again, stands on the shoulders of the vision you had for Full Circle and the inspiration for See Hear Love. And I can't thank you more for just your incredible work and dedication and hard work to do this so that I could then do this work too. So thank you so much.
And
Sofa Sisters.
And became a stepmom. You might have missed that.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Okay. So Cheryl, thank you. And yes, Chris, I got remarried. I got remarried and became a stepmom in a blended family. Oh my goodness. Yes. That was a highlight. Yes, because after Full Circle, I'd gone through the divorce and oh, what a time. And then God, led him to me and beautiful remarriage and family and the joys and challenges of being a stepmom to teenagers. If anybody has any advice, please let me know. But I love them, and what a gift. So there's more to come. I know we have some encouragement for young women, but first we're going to have Ann Mainse share from the Good Word of Scripture to inspire us in our love and connection for one another.
Thank you, Melinda. All this talk about connecting with each other, as Cheryl said earlier, sometimes we feel a little standoffish about connecting because we don't want to be authentic. We don't want to reveal the real us. But as we do, as we share what it is we're going through, as we've tried to do on Full Circle over the years, as we authentically share our lives with each other, we find that God does something amazing. There's a verse in Corinthians that says, as we go through difficult times, God is with us, and then he brings others alongside us to walk through it with us. And then what he teaches us, we help them to learn for their own journey. That's a paraphrase, but that's the idea. And that's what we try to do on Full Circle. God's word is full of encouragement like that. If we'll just only open up our hearts to hear from him, hear his voice, read his word, and then connect with each other. But as we do share authentically, we find that God then speaks through us to others and helps them to find healing in the purpose of what they're walking through as well.
Well, thanks, Ann. That was a beautiful scripture that you shared from the Good Word. And I think the best way to end this show is for each one of us to share some encouragement to a young woman who's either in media, entering into media and broadcast, or even a young woman who is longing for connection and sisterhood. Denise, what would be your encouragement to that young woman today?
Don't be afraid to be who you are. That's God has given you a voice, use it, and just ensure that you are true to him and to what he has to say.
Excellent. Yes. Beautiful. Ann, what about for you? Your encouragement?
I would say God desires to speak directly to your heart. So every day, give him some time. He will give you clear direction on what he wants you to do. And then he'll give you the power to do it. And then courageously and boldly and graciously step out in faith and do what he's calling you to do.
Yes. Amen to that. Moira.
I think you can pick up even from our present journey and our reflections. Oswald Chambers was right. He said, God gives us a vision and then he batters and molds us into the shape. This is a generation that wants everything right now. And God can't microwave maturity. It's a process. Don't give up. Stay on track. God directs a moving ship. So keep moving forward, but be sensitive to his leading. You're not going to miss anything he has for you if you hold fast to him. Here's the promise, Psalm 32, verse 8, I will guide you along the best pathway for your life. I will advise you and watch over you. He's got this and he's got you. So just stay in his lane. You will get there. Maybe not tomorrow, but he'll use everything that comes into your life to make you all he wants you to be.
Yes. It's awesome. Thank you so much, Moira. And Cheryl?
Mine's kind of along the same lines. I would say, don't buy into the self-promotional trend of our culture. Yeah. That is not the spirit of God. And, you know, the Bible talks about humble yourself before the hand of God. He will raise you up in due time. There is a process about leadership. And if you feel called to leadership, then just know that he is going to do everything he can to mold you into his image, because everything you do and say is going to impact people. So he's got to knock those rough edges off. So part of being called to ministry, leadership, or visibility in any way is being crushed. So just submit to the process. Don't promote yourself. Let God be the one that promotes you. I always say, if he put you in a position, you don't have to fight anybody off or compete with anybody. He's going to keep you there as long as he wants you. And when it's over, it's over. But, you know, if you get yourself there, if you promote yourself, then you're going to have to maintain it and fight people off and sell yourself. And it's exhausting. Honestly, let God write your story, submit to him, show up, work hard, have integrity, and let him do his thing.
Wow, we got preachers in the house. We got some dynamic women here. You know, what I would just say is that we need one another. I needed a mentor. I needed someone like Ann Mainse to see me and say, I'm going to give you an opportunity to be a co-host on a women's show, which changed the trajectory of my life. And so if you are an older, more mature woman, then it's time to mentor. It's time to lean in and look for young women that you can pray and support and cheer on. And if you're a young woman, listen to us. Listen to the good advice that we have. And, you know, there's a lot of women out there that can advise you, give you wisdom, and mentor you. We are all in this together. I love it. Again, it's all about connecting. And Moira, Cheryl, and Denise, what a joy and pleasure it was to have you all here for our full circle reunion. Thank you so much for being here on See Here
Did you see how disciplined we were? We didn't interrupt each other at all, Melinda. We're all.
I know. I'm shocked, Cheryl. Usually, be like, I want to say the last word back. Amazing.
Getting a word in edgewise was always the hardest part.
Can I just give one last shout out? I have one last shout out to give to Ely, our hairdresser.
Oh, of course.
Brandy and Elizabeth for making us look good. That really helped.
Yes, we sure did. It took a team. I mean, yes, we were the ones who were talking, but it took an entire team to make Full Circle work. Well, on that note, Ann, I think that you should do your close and then I'll do my close, because I think if we don't close, we'll be another 5 hours talking and laughing. So go for it. What is your close for the end of the show, Ann?
Remember, keep your eyes on Jesus, because it's all about him.
Yes. And know deep within your soul. And we know this too, but you know that you are seen, you are heard, and you are deeply loved by God. From all of us, Full Circle and See Here Love. Bye-bye.